It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Showtime. What's happening, everybody? Yes, one day from the weekend. It is. No, it's not Dame time, like Dame Dollar, NBA superstar, Portland Trailblazers. He says it's Dame time. Nah, it's G time. It's Geno time, the Geno Jones Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, 3:30 p.m. if you're out in Portland with Dame Dollar and my daughter and son-in-law and Brooklyn the Bulldog, or out in Los Angeles. Subscribe, share, and like to the Geno Jones channel, the Geno Jones Show. Please subscribe to my channel. Please share all the episodes. Please like all the episodes. By the way, if you're looking, if you would love to be an advertiser, you'd like to be a sponsor, you'd like to be on the show, promoting, advertising, helping to sell your products, your goods, your services. Or if you're looking for a brand ambassador, as they say, or pitch man to help build that brand, your business, to help you generate sales and revenue. I'm the king. I'm not the king. No, I'm not the king. I'm the king of pitchmen. Leave me a message. Geno Jones Show at Gmail. All right, so here's my monologue today. No guest. Tomorrow, if she's available, Keela Carson, our week in review show. See something, say something. Know something, do something. Let me say that again. You see something, say something. If you know something, do something. So this morning I'm watching, really this morning and yesterday evening after my show, watching the testimony in the U.S. Congress, a special congressional hearing. Former members of the United States female gymnastics team, from Simone Biles to Allie Raisman and some of the other young ladies. And being a dad of two daughters, even though one is fully grown and the baby girl, Allie Jones, is 19, still, a dad with daughters, it's heartbreaking. So from the children who were sexual victims of R. Kelly, girls, and according to court testimony, some of the victims so far, at least two, were young boys, underage boys, teenagers. So from the children who were the sexual victims, allegedly, of R. Kelly, since the trial is still going on, to the girls on the younger, they were young girls at the time. Now they're women, but they were babies. They were young girls on the U.S. gymnastics team. Like I said, like Simone Biles. We have got to do a better job at protecting all kids. And we've got to, as a society, and listen, I'm just going to be honest. I'm a man. And man, we have got to change this culture. We can change it. We created it in a large part. Yes, are there women also that molest and sexually abuse children? Yes, but look, I'm not a social scientist. Look at the data. Men, by and large, we make up a large share of perpetrators. So we just have to be honest about it. From people in our own families, sometimes even biological fathers, stepfathers, uncles, nephews, neighbors, mentors. We've got to change this culture. And for black kids, especially black girls, I would argue that they are probably the least listened to and the most victimized out of any group. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again on the show today. the most unprotected, unheard, devalued, disrespected person on the planet, a black woman, and especially a young black girl. We have got to change this culture. We all do. We all play a part in it. I hear the testimony, or I see the comments, because the trial in New York City, the R. Kelly trial, and that's just one. He's going to be facing another one in Chicago. I think maybe one in Atlanta, maybe another one out in Los Angeles. It's heartbreaking. And I told the story about, I met Robert when he was Robert Kelly. He was a member of a group called MGM Grand. I was doing a morning radio show in Los Angeles in the early 90s. And he was in a group called MGM Grand. And I think this is just before the grand finale. And so he was in the group, MGM Grand. They won this grand prize. It was a show called Natalie Cole's Big Break. She was the host. And so Robert Kelly had a manager. Even though he was in a group, there was a guy that I knew who just from Chicago. I knew him from just traveling in social circles. And he reached out to me. I was doing mornings. I was a morning radio host. I had a morning radio show at Stevie Wonder's station. Shout out to KJLH out in Los Angeles. And I'll never forget this. They were staying at the Sheraton Universal Hotel out there in Universal, actually in Burbank, Universal Studios in Burbank, California. This is part of the LA Metro. So I get this call. They say, hey, listen, Geno, hey, man, come on by. This was Robert Kelly's, the guy who was representing him as a manager. I want you to come and meet this guy. This is Robert. He's a member of MGM Grand. They're going to be on, they are in this group. He's in this group, MGM Grand. They're going to be on Natalie Cole's show. They're trying to win the grand prize. But I'm trying to help him get a record deal. And so I'm going to really date myself. I'll never forget. They invite me up to the hotel room. And there was this dresser. People call it like a dresser where you store clothes. And on top of it was a big boom box, a big dark gray boom box. I can see it just as clear as I can see looking at the camera. And so he pressed play, and I listened to basically what was like a demo. And I was like, wow, this kid is, I said, did he produce this? He said, yeah. He produced, he did the beats. He produced the beats, and he writes and everything. I said, well, wow. I said, okay. He's talented. I said, okay, I'll keep an eye out. I said, thanks. Thanks. Nice to meet you guys. Good to see you again. To my friend, my acquaintance, nice to meet you, Robert, and you guys, good luck. So they won the contest. I didn't see this guy who I met named Robert and the guy who was representing him, because a couple of years later, he got a new manager. So I guess about 2 years later, an album came out called Born in the 90s by R. Kelly and Public Announcement. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That dude, that's the Robert Kelly I met a couple years ago at the Sheraton Universal Hotel out in LA. And then I played the music. I was like, oh, wait, oh, wow. That was the music that they played for me in a hotel room. That demo that I heard was basically the music that you heard on Born in the 90s. So I just tell that story to say that, so I met Robert Kelly, R. Kelly. He became R. Kelly, really before he really became famous and became R. Kelly. Chicago native. I grew up in Chicago. You heard stories about how he He went to a high school called Kenwood High School, which was a high school that for probably close to 10 years, maybe about a good 8 or 9 years, close to 10 years, I lived, about 2 blocks from, literally. And, you heard stories that, he'd hang out, he'd, be parked out in front of Kenwood High School, and, he liked young girls, like high school age. You hear this. You hear a lot of stuff. You don't see it, but it wasn't a secret in Chicago. And there's so many other stories. I'm not going to bore you with that. Many of you all have seen the documentary, so you've seen and heard the horror stories. Now, I never heard those horror stories about the really basically imprisoning young girls as young as 13 and 14. I remember when he married Aaliyah, because the radio station, so I came back home to work in Chicago in the mid-90s, and I'll never forget when the story broke. Actually, we at the radio station, we actually got a copy. Somebody knew somebody that worked at the down at City Hall. So you have the city and the county office, and there's an office where basically you go and get your records. I think it's the Bureau of Vital Statistics. That really doesn't matter. Like if you need to get your birth certificate, or if you need to get a marriage license or death certificate, you would go there. So we saw a copy of this marriage license. And I was like, oh, damn. He married Aaliyah. Now the stories got out that one of his assistants, actually a guy, according to, this is testimony in court, a guy named Demetrius, who I've known for years. Well, I met, I knew him, I knew him for a while. As a matter of fact, shortly after, well, I'd say in the mid-90s, I met him because he was part of R. Kelly's entourage. But I knew Demetrius and the whole night. And he admitted to basically he bribed somebody that worked in that office to falsify this marriage certificate, and I believed Aaliyah's age somehow was left off. And took, I think in open court, I think in the testimony, he admitted to paying something like $500 to basically get this person, this employee, to falsify this marriage record. So why am I telling that story? I'm telling that story because as I begin to hear the horror stories, you've heard the horror stories about R&B singer, her Sparkle, her niece, and then when the documentary came out about R. Kelly and all his ex girlfriends, and began to on camera and tell these horror stories. Now, you've heard in the early 2000s, late 2000s, there was even a trial. There was a writer in Chicago, Chicago Sun-Times, Jim DeRogatis. I believe I'm pronouncing his last name right, Jim DeRogatis, that got wind of what was going on, especially the relationship between R. Kelly and the R&B singer Sparkle's niece, who I believe at the time was like around 13 or 14 when they began to have this, I'm not gonna call it, it's not a relationship because that's a child, it's a baby. So anyway, why am I telling this story? Because the more and more I hear, the more and more I feel, a part of me feels guilty. I knew Robert R. Kelly through what I did for a living. I met him professionally. I knew him personally. I was never invited to his house. I didn't play basketball with him. There were certain nightclubs that he would frequent and come to, late at night, hanging out. We had a friend who was a DJ. Shout out to a brother named Frenchie, and he was a fan of French. We all were a fan of Frenchie's music at a club called the Cotton Club. And he would come show up late at night. This club stayed open till like 5 in the morning. He'd show up about 4 o'clock, You come in but anyway, I'm telling you this because a part of me feels guilty. Now, I had no idea that he was actually sleeping with 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds. But even 17, 16, 17, 18, hanging out at Kenwood High School, hanging out. That wasn't cool. I didn't have any kind of relationship with him where I had any influence on him, where I could say, hey, listen, dude, what are you doing? But nonetheless, still, a part of me feels guilty that these were somebody's nieces, somebody's daughters, somebody's granddaughters that he was abusing, and he used his fame and fortune and celebrity to sexually assault, and worse, these young girls. They were still babies, and he was a grown-ass man. And the culture and the community really didn't protect these girls. They didn't. Black, white, Hispanic, you name it. And we as a culture, as a community, as black people and as black men, we didn't protect him. And I'm part of that community and that culture. So part of me feels responsible in some way. Maybe I shouldn't. But nonetheless, I'm saying that to say that we as a community, we really got to take ownership, and we have to be responsible. For too long, especially when it comes to black girls, young black girls, especially, like I said earlier in the show, really the most unprotected, unheard, devalued, disrespected person on the planet is a black woman, and especially a young black girl. So we got to protect all children, regardless of what they look like. But as a culture and as a community, black people, black men and women. The first trial in Chicago that was about Sparkle, the R&B singer's Sparkle's niece. There were women by the tens and hundreds who would line up outside in front of the courthouse yelling support for R. Kelly. There were women who would cuss you, fight you, cut you, and shoot you about R. Kelly. No, he didn't do nothing. And it was, them little fast-tailed girls, if they weren't so fast. What do you mean if they weren't so fast? If they weren't so promiscuous? What do they really know about promiscuity? They don't know anything about sex. They're babies. 13, 14, 15, and a grown-ass man that is a global R&B, pop superstar. Because by then he was really arguably, you could make an argument at the time, at his peak, early 2000s. He was one of the biggest pop stars, not just R&B, on the planet. His music, incredible success. I Believe I Can Fly, worked with Michael Jackson. So we failed those girls. And all the people who worked for the United States gymnastics team, the United States Olympic Committee, Michigan State University, where this pedophile who's in jail, a teen doctor, Larry Nassar, who molested and sexually assaulted. I think the number, the official number, and that wasn't all of them, that's just the ones I think were counted, were close to 200 victims. First victim of Larry Nassar was like in the mid-90s, including Simone Biles, Aly Raisman, the women of the U.S. Olympic, the U.S. gymnastics team that went on to win gold medals in the Olympics. Even FBI agents who interviewed people like Simone Biles and Aly Raisman and some of their former teammates. And the women said themselves, under oath and testimony, even the FBI agents didn't listen to them, made them feel like they did something wrong. Well, we really don't want to, I'm paraphrasing, you don't want to really, cause too much trouble. And these women said they were heartbroken, they were confused, they were depressed, they felt let down, they felt unheard, that they weren't even listened to by people who were paid to investigate and convict this man of these crimes that he committed against children. And that the United States Olympic Committee, or I should say the U.S. the United States Gymnastics Team, United States Olympic Committee, because these women competed for this country in the Olympics, all those adults, they protected this molester and rapist. And they didn't protect these young girls, but then they expected them to train, to compete at the highest level, and to go out every 4 years and represent this country in the Olympics, part of the United States gymnastics team. And then on top of it, these women competed at the highest level and won gold medals. And they still were not protected and listened to. My God. As a culture of humans, we got to do better than this. As a culture of men, we got to do better than this. So there's an NBA basketball player who went to this big Met Gala event in New York City. Plays for my Lakers, Russell Westbrook. So apparently he was in New York and some designer had like this, it's a skirt. I guess it's supposed to be a man's skirt. Then he had these boots that had like some platform heels. I saw some men, especially this one former basketball player. I'm not even gonna mention his name because that's irrelevant. Man, he's enraged. He's cussing and man, what N-word, what N from the hood, whatever, put on a skirt. Oh, this MF and oh B ass and you blah blah blah. If you gay, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you gay, I got nieces and nephews gay. I don't care about that. But ain't no real N gonna walk around in the hood with no skirt on. He enraged. You could just see the anger and rage in his voice and in his face. When I think about that, I'm like, damn. It would be nice if this brother was as outraged about what R. Kelly did and what Larry Nassar did. And maybe some man in his family, an uncle or brother or cousin or stepfather or father. Wouldn't it be nice for him to be as that outraged as he was about a man wearing a skirt? It would be nice to see that same outrage, or to be that outraged about what happened to what R. Kelly did to these children, these babies, girls and boys, and what Larry Nassar did to these girls. Man, we got this manhood and this masculinity, this term toxic masculinity. Man, we got this whole manhood thing all messed up because it's got us all messed up and all twisted. And it's got us doing crazy stuff. And it gets us outraged about stuff that we shouldn't be outraged about. Now, look, I'm not going to wear a skirt. That's not my fashion. That ain't me. But if you want to wear a skirt, do you. That's your own you. I ain't got no problem with it. I'm not going to be outraged about it. I'm like, okay, you rocking, there you go. Fashion forward. Even though, skirts for men, it's nothing new. There's nothing new in fashion. Basically, any fashion style or trend, it recycles roughly every 20 years, okay? But that's irrelevant. But the point I'm trying to make is the things we should be outraged about our daughters and nieces and nephews and little girls who are in our neighborhoods, in schools, and go to our churches. We should be outraged about them being molested and raped by pop singers or team doctors or uncles or stepfathers or brothers or coaches or neighbors. We need to be outraged about that. That's the outrage. We need to check each other about that. Like, yo, what we're not going to do. You're not doing that. That's a baby. I don't care how built she is, how thick she is, how stacked she is. That's a damn baby. That's a child, and you know it. What the hell is wrong with you? Come on, dude. Come on, man. You better than that. We have got to change this culture and change it quick. We have got to change it now. Men, we get pissed off and outraged about the wrong damn thing. About a dude wearing a skirt to a fashion show, or a rapper doing a video giving the devil a lap dance. Okay, I hear you. Well, society and them folks are trying to feminize men and feminize black men. Okay, I hear you. I got it. I get you. Yes, some people could have an agenda, but you can't feminize somebody if it's not that. You just can't make somebody be feminine and it ain't in them. While you worried about people trying to feminize black men, we need to really worry about whoever it is, black men, white men, Hispanic men, Asian men, any man molesting, raping, sex trafficking our babies, our young girls and young boys. Now let's have that conversation. Who in your family when you have a big family reunion and the kids, you say, "Girl, don't go back there with Uncle Bob. Well, don't be around him." And his ass is molesting. He done molested somebody in the family already. You know it. Your uncle, your brother. You. Get outraged about that. Stop worrying about somebody a man wearing a damn skirt or doing a video giving Satan a lap dance. Got the wrong, man. Oh my God. Dude, we trip on the wrong thing. And in the meantime, our children are being permanently damaged, are being molested, raped, and sex trafficked every day, right under our nose. And in a lot of cases, too many of us know about it or participate in it or look the other way and know what's going on. So if you want to have a conversation, let's have that conversation. I'm right here. I'm all for it. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, 3:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Please subscribe to the Geno Jones channel. Please share all the episodes. Please share this episode. Oh yeah, because I went there. I want to hear your comments. All right, reach out to me. Let's have that conversation about protecting our children and putting an end, getting outraged about the molestation the sexual assault and the rape of our children, our girls and boys. Let's have that conversation. All right? If you like to advertise, if you like to be a sponsor on the show, I would love to. I'd be honored to have you as a sponsor, as an advertiser. If you're looking for the ultimate pitch man or brand ambassador to help you build your brand, your business, to help you generate sales and revenue for your products, your goods, your services. I'm the king of pitch man. No, no, no. I'm not the king. 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 I'm the king. So leave me a message. Come talk to the king right here. Geno Jones Show. That's how you spell it. Geno Jones Show at Gmail. Thank you for watching, everybody. Shout out to Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. You can check him out on Instagram, Kelby Cutting Up, KELBECUTTINUP. Alexandria Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist, along with Bruce Gage for the Geno Jones Show. You can check out Alexandria Jones. She's on Instagram, _ the line right below, _ Lexi, LEXXIE, space Nicole Design, or Alexandria, ALEXANDRIA, Alexandria Jones. Also Bruce Gage, just type in Bruce, GAGE, in the little search circle. Looks like a little magnifying glass, that icon, on Instagram and on Facebook. Tomorrow is my weekend review. Friday, I don't call it Friday. I call it Friday. Yay, it is Friday edition of the Geno Show. I'm coming to you live at 6:30 p.m. In the meantime, if you just came and jumped in and you just called, watching me right now, and you came in like in the middle of today's show, go back and rewind, press play, watch the whole episode. Please copy the link, paste it, share this episode with everybody and anybody you know, and even folks you don't know. And go back and binge watch all my previous episodes. Really, this week I've been on one every day. So some great conversations, great guests, and my monologues have been fire. If I must say so myself, and I must. So must see TV. Check it out. But be sure to subscribe and tell everybody you know to subscribe to the Geno Jones Show. I'm approaching my 1-year anniversary. I'm working on some special shows for that week. I'll give you more details about that coming up. So let me get out of here. In the meantime, once again, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we got to protect these kids. That's the least we can do. That is, as parents and as people, as adults, that's really the one job. That's the one job that we really have, is to protect our babies. Man, if we can't protect our babies, we are not worth blank. We're not worth ish. We're just not, as far as I'm concerned. All right, Friday edition of the Geno Show tomorrow, or Friday, depending on when you're watching this. If you're not watching it live, 6:30. In the meantime, as always, before I leave, I just want to say one more thing to you. As always, please be blessed. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.